Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. With elections around the corner, there is a renewed call to pass a law banning political dynasties. In a petition filed earlier this week before the Supreme Court, it stated the 1987 Constitution's clear prohibition of political dynasties. Petitioners say 4 decades have gone by, but Congress failed to pass an enabling law to support it. Let's get on point with Kabataan Party List Representative Raoul Manuel and UP College of Law Professor Dante Gatmaytan. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the show and thank you so much for your time.
Good evening po, Ms. Pinky.
Umpisahan na natin dito. Siguro maraming nagtataka, di ba nasa Constitution siya, 1987 Constitution, na bawal ang political dynasty. Pero palagi nating naririnig, kaya lang walang enabling law. So, let's dig deeper into this. Article 2, Section 26 of the 1987 Constitution says, the state shall guarantee, ito po yun, equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties, ito yung problema, as may defined by law. Ito po yung tinatawag nilang kailangan ng enabling law, no, Congressman, Professor?
Yes, exactly.
That's it, no? So, while the Constitution, to me, is clear that political dynasties are disallowed, it is also clear na kailangan po ng batas hinggil dito. The problem is, no law has been passed in the past 4 decades, or almost 4 decades since 1987. But, a glimmer of hope, because you filed a bill in the 19th Congress regarding this. Let's talk about that, Congressman Manuel. Go ahead.
Na-file po natin ang House Bill 1157. Isa po yun sa mga unang final talaga natin nung day 1 ng ating term kasi nakita natin as a youth representative, marami ring mga kabataan gusto sanang mag-serve, no? Be part of public service. Kaso nahirapan sila dahil sobrang entrenched ng mga political dynasty sa ating bansa. So I think for us to move forward as a country, kailangan meron na talagang pagtigil doon sa pag-proliferate ng ganitong sistema. Kaya yun, final natin yung bill. Kaso, syempre, knowing yung current composition ng Congress, no, with all due respect to my colleagues, kaya kita natin sobrang matagal bago talaga, kahit i-agenda man lang sa committee level, yung House Bill natin.
So, anong status niya? Hindi pa na-agenda?
Hindi po at all.
Okay.
Natutulog yung bill natin.
So, mukhang matutulog siya hanggang matapos ang eleksyon, ano? It seems that that will be the case. Professor, why are we faced with this kind of problem? I mean, it is the obvious, but I'd like you to be the one to state it for the record.
I think the framers of the Constitution had trouble defining what a political dynasty is. Kaya ang nangyari, they left it to Congress at a future time to enact a law that would prohibit it. But the discussions really were really about giving everyone a chance to participate. Yan yung first sentence ng provision na binasa nyo. And as Commissioner Monsod said, we underestimated the greed of the politicians.
Well, which actually I wanted to go there because baka po may nagtataka, ginawa na, kayo na po yung framers ng 1987 Constitution. Sila po, inilagay na po nila itong Article 2, Section 26 ng 1987 Constitution. Sana ho binuo na para wala na tayong problema ngayon. In hindsight, do you think people like Attorney Christian Monsod are saying that dapat tinapos na natin to, no?
I'm sure they're thinking that. But I think yung time na yun, they were also under a lot of pressure doon kasi may political instability, may mga coup attempts, and they just had to pass the Constitution as soon as they could.
So, ano ang definition? I think kailangan kasi ma-define ano ang political dynasty, Congressman. Ano dun sa bill niyo ang definition nito?
Sa na-file po natin na bill, ang political dynasty ay yung magkakamag-anak up to 2nd degree, whether consanguinity man or affinity. So, ibig sabihin kasama dyan yung mag-asawa, mag-ama o mag-ina, hanggang yung magkapatid, ganyan, within the same city or province.
So, okay, example.
Yes. Halimbawa po, kapag merong tatakbo na sabay po sila, like magkapatid, no? Kasi hanggang second degree pasok yun. If they run within the same area, ganyan, makakonsider sila ng political dynasty.
Ang second degree ba magkapatid? Ano ba ang first degree at anong second degree?
Yung first degree po, halimbawa, kung mag-ama or mag-ina, ganyan. So, sila ay bawal under our bill kasi yung first degree and second degree, hindi pwede dapat na sabay silang tumakbo at mag-hold ng position.
Okay. Pagka magkapatid, yun na yung second degree.
Second degree,
Oo,
magkapatid.
okay.
Oo. Yung maglola at maglola, second degree din po yun.
Mag-ano?
Maglolo or maglola.
Maglolo at maglola. Okay. And that is also prohibited doon sa
Yes,
inyong
doon sa bill natin.
Basta pareho kayo ng lugar na that you're running in the
Yes.
same, let's say, congressional district, for example. So, sabihin po natin, si Mayor, si Mr., si Vice Mayor, si Mrs. O si Mayor, si Mr., si Councilor, si anak.
Yeah.
Bawal din yun.
Yung isang example din po, kung hindi man sabay natatakbo, halimbawa, sa same position, yung papalit ay, yung nagpo-fall sa first or second degree, bawal din po yun. Kasi ang
Kahit na graduate na siya.
Halimbawa po, lalabas yung isa, like, malilimit na yung term,
Parang
tapos
gusto mo
papalitan.
gusto mo mag-identify na politiko. Okay, so may mag-graduate na mayor, for example.
Yes,
Ang
yes.
papalit, ako na magsasabi, kunwari, anak.
Yeah,
Bawal
yeah.
yun.
Kasi yung gusto nating i-prevent,
napaka-strict.
yung nagagamit yung posisyon, yung government resources, na-witness po natin ito, even in the current elections, di ba, na yung kanilang posisyon, halimbawa, it also comes with the government programs, ganyan. Nafe-favor yung kanilang kamag-anak para mas mataas yung odds na yun yung papalit sa kanila.
I'm just going to do a follow-up, Professor, before I go to you. Paano dun sa mga sinasabi ng mga politiko na, but you have choices. Nasa botante naman yan, kasalanan ko ba kung gusto pa nila akong iboto o yung aking kapatid o anak o asawa? Anong sagot mo doon?
Yeah. Ang paggamit kasi ng kung ano daw yung gusto ng tao, kasi yung mga tao naman bumoto, pero yung mga nagkiklaim kasi noon na galing din sa mga dynasties, they tend to forget na noong 1987, bumoto na yung tao against dynasties kasi hindi naman masasama yung ganong provision sa konstitusyon natin if the people, in essence, want dynasties. Kaya dapat lang na mapigilan talaga siya kasi kung hayaan natin, sobrang magiging clash of clans na lang sa bansa natin. Parang we just vote for the surname, hindi na doon sa ano yung kakayahan talaga ng tao na magsilbi.
And Professor, is that what you're seeing right now?
Yes, it's escalated. No? You remember the day we started filing COCs, entire families came out without any shame, no? And we are all running for various positions, and that's one of the reasons why we filed the petition, because we think the climate has changed for the worse. So
Is this the worst that you've seen so far?
yes, plus pati yung party list system, which was originally designed for marginalized groups, no, is being infiltrated by political dynasties. Meron silang mga representatives doon sa sa party list system. So it's horrifying how politics is developing.
The question is, again, balikan po natin, kailangan po kasi ng enabling law. So someone like Congressman Manuel, they filed a bill in the 19th Congress. It doesn't seem like it's going to see the light of day because it hasn't even been agendad. Hindi pa na-agenda, rather. What are the chances for the Supreme Court to actually rule on something like this? Why? I ask because of the separation of powers among the three branches of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Can the Supreme Court command or compel the legislative branch of government to establish or make an enabling law to support this provision in the Constitution banning political dynasties?
We think we can. I think rather we think the Supreme Court can. Kasi meron namang mga kaso where the Supreme Court orders another branch of government to perform its duties, kahit naman discretionary duties. Kasi normally, pag ministerial lang, yung mga walang iniisip, just follow the law, madali yun i-command. Pero in rare cases, the Supreme Court has said, we can tell you to perform your discretionary function, but hindi namin sasabihin kung paano mo gagawin. So meron ding cases that support our strategy.
It'll guide you, but it will not tell you exactly what to do.
It will tell you what to do, but not how to.
But not how to do
yes.
it. And you're obviously hoping that that would be the case.
Yes.
Congressman, what about you? Do you think that's a bit of a stretch?
Isa
Quite
po ito sa
honestly.
isa na rin to sa mga hopefully ay makapag-touch ng conscience ng ating legislative branch, lalo na tingin natin talaga long overdue na mapasa itong panukalang batas. Kung hindi agad makita ng chambers ng Congress na dapat itong gawin agad, yung nudge from Supreme Court can actually help, no, na masimulan yung discussions. Kasi nung past Congresses, na as I recall, 17th Congress, nasimulan din naman nila hanggang committee level, hindi nga lang natapos. So it means kung gugustuhin naman talaga na pag-usapan, tingin natin kaya.
Sigurado, kung talagang may suporta to, madaling maipasa. Kung may suporta. I read something that in the past, because again, we're talking about the 1987 Constitution, there have been over 30 anti-political dynasty bills filed in both houses of Congress. Would you have any idea, gentlemen, on how far this reached? Congressman Manuel was saying committee level lang. Hanggang dun lang sa iyong pagkaalam.
Nakapaglabas ng committee report, pero hanggang, kasi after the committee report, it goes to second reading, kung saan sa plenary na siya. Yun, hindi na natapos doon. Kaya yung
Hindi napunta sa
best
second
na,
reading?
Hanggang, it went to second reading, ibig sabihin na simulan siyang sponsor, ganyan, mapag-usapan. Pero yun, hindi na siya nakalagpas doon.
When was that?
Kaya best niya na ay yung committee level. Yun.
I see. What about you, Professor?
I've never heard of anything that went by.
Ito na ata yung
Yun na
pinaka advanced na inabot ng political dynasty bill. All right, again, so because this was part of the 1987 Constitution, I know this, and I don't mean to be sarcastic about this, is it, when you file a petition before the Supreme Court, can that number of years, that 4 decades of no law has been passed, can that be used? I mean, is there such a thing as it's long overdue? Or mag-e-expire na to, 40 taon na at hindi pa rin nagagawa? Pwede ho ba yun?
Yes, baka what we're saying is Congress has abandoned its duty. Plus, na we should revisit yung mga other Supreme Court decisions that say we cannot interfere because of the way our politics has developed. Iba na yung situation ngayon, and iba na yung situation nung sinasabi na dati na you cannot compel or tell Congress what to do. So we're hoping na yung mix nung the constitutional basis plus yung development ng politics will be enough to get the court to think about the issue a little harder naman.
And then you wonder why 2 former Supreme Court justices are part of this group that filed the petition, namely retired Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio and Justice Carpio Morales, also the former ombudsman. Sila po ay parte nitong petition that you filed before the Supreme Court, basically telling the Supreme Court, please tell Congress to pass a bill. That's basically it, right?
Yes. So, taking framers, di ba? I mean, si Christian
Attorney
Monzon.
Christian
So, parang, as a coalition, we think that my point kami to say na I think it's time for the court to do something, to do its part.
You know, there's been, I think, 2 rulings by the Supreme Court. I think one is the Supreme Court and probably one was the COMELEC. I'm going to discuss that after the break because basically in that ruling of the Supreme Court, it was Gingona versus the House and the Senate, if I'm not mistaken. The Supreme Court ruled that it can't compel Congress to pass a law. Let's talk about that after the break with Kabataan Party List Representative Raoul Manuel and UP College of Law Professor Dante Gatmaytan. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. You're watching On Point. Still with us, Kabataan Party List Representative Raoul Manuel and UP College of Law Professor Dante Gatmaytan. Before I go to parts of the bill that you filed at the House during this 19th Congress, I wanted to discuss these 2 rulings by the Supreme Court. As mentioned a while ago, there's one based on research, Gingona versus House and Senate. here, the Supreme Court ruled that they can't compel Congress to pass a law due to the separation of powers, which is something that we were already discussing a while ago. And there's another one. It is Biraugo versus Comelec, where in Biraugo was asking the Comelec to ban members of political dynasties that were running in the election. So, Professor, you were saying that I think these rulings were sometime 10 years ago. You're hoping that the climate has changed or that they can revisit these rulings that were rendered in the past?
That's right. There's no rule that says we cannot review our prior decisions and take a different position. So the Supreme Court can always do that. Walang blind idolatry to our past decisions. That's not what jurisprudence is about.
But is there what is the compelling argument of your petition?
We think that there is a command. It's being ignored.
There's a command in the 1987 Constitution that is being ignored by
Congress.
By both
That's
houses
really
of Congress.
what we're trying to get the Supreme Court to act upon.
All right. Congressman Manuel, ano pa yung laman ng bill ninyo? During the break, we were talking about yung local positions. What about national positions? How does this come into play dito sa anti-political dynasty bill?
Sa ating bill, ang focus natin kasi yung mga political dynasties, they can really build their power by having a sure base of votes at uso talaga yung dynasties nagsisimula sa local level. Doon sila kukuha ng mga botante nila. Kaya when it comes to positions, ang pinagbabawalan natin ay kapag tumakbo in the same province or city. So sa bill natin, kung merong tatakbo halimbawa sa national level, kasi doon, ibig sabihin, iiwan niya na yung base niya, kailangan niyang mas kumbinsihin buong bansa. So if magawa naman niya, allowed siya na tumakbo, ganyan, for a national position, pero may limit pa rin doon sa mga kamag-anak niya sa local position.
For example, one were to run for the Senate. Okay. Tapos, pwede pa yung kanyang kamag-anak doon sa congressional district?
Doon sa congressional district, pwede. Pero doon mag-a-apply na kung meron ng tatakbo doon sa district, hindi pwede na, yun, may iba pang mga kamag-anak.
Hindi na pwedeng first degree and second degree.
Yes.
So, pwede kang mag-national post at pwede kang mag-local post.
Yes, yes.
What about party list?
Sa party list, doon, actually, isa yan sa mga kailangan pang i-update din sa ating bill. No? Kasi lalo na't napansin din natin recently sa party list system din na dumarami rin yung mga pumapasok pero actually ay back ng mga dynasties din. Tapos gusto din nating i-take note doon sa batas natin kasi sa SK merong provision na hanggang second degree din bawal. Tapos sa BARM Electoral Code ay bawal din. Meron din silang provision sa dynasty. So, kailangan mag-harmonize yung mga ito at kung meron na nga sa SK at sa BARM, why not sa buong bansa?
That's a good point.
Yes. So, kung gugustuhin talaga, pwede. And no one has challenged na yung constitutionality nitong mga prohibitions sa dynasty.
Sa BARM and sa SK. Right.
So, if you wanted to.
Professor, that's not part of your petition stating the provisions under, let's say, the SK and BARM.
Yes, because we think the Constitution talks about a national law that applies to all positions. So very limited yung SK tsaka yung sa BARM.
But what has happened? I mean, even in Congress, Congressman Manuel, what percentage would you say from congressmen, dahil dun po kayo, and party list, ilang porsyento ang masasabi niyong nasa political dynasty doon? Meron ho ba kayong pag-aaral?
Sa ngayon, ang best estimate natin, nasa 80% eh. Oo, ganun kadami.
8-0?
Oo. Based na rin sa mga independent din na pag-check nung connections and relationships.
Our political dynasties.
Sa House.
Yeah, that's
Kasi,
a lot.
for example, merong district representative, tapos meron siyang kamag-anak na nasa party list din.
Yeah.
Ganyan. So, with all due respect sa kanila, tingin natin na sayang yung posisyon di ba? Na pwedeng meron namang mga mas viable pero hindi naupo sa pwesto.
Paano kasi, Professor, when they say, paano kung dalawa kaming magaling at magkapamilya kami? How do you respond to something like that? Which is often, every time, ganito na lang po, every time merong midterm elections or merong presidential elections, the question on political dynasties is always asked among those running. Paano nga kung ang depensa nila, 2 o 3, 5 sila sa pamilya na magaling
Dahil na nga yung dinebate dun sa, sa writing ng Constitution. May pros, may cons, but they concluded that in the end, mas malaki yung costs.
Cons.
No. So that's why they put that provision. Lagi naman may argument na ganyan But you can also argue on the other hand na ngayon yung studies show na pag dynastic yung local offices, hindi naman nag-improve yung walang correlation between dynasty tsaka economic improvement.
There's no correlation.
Yeah. So maraming ganyang studies ngayon na yung sa harm na ginagawa ng dynasties.
Is there a study though that points to harmful effects of political dynasties?
Yes. Yung mga ganyan, mga economic, you remain poor, for instance.
Are there other modes? Let's just say a petition is filed before the Supreme Court, a bill is pending in the 19th Congress. Is there any other way? I mean, I was thinking, what about a people's initiative?
I think it's a viable option. Hindi siya masyadong ginagamit. I don't know why. But if Congress refuses to do it, that's why we have that option. Ito yung initiative coming from us.
Ginagamit ho siya para pangpahaba ng term? Term limits, yun ang nagagamit o palitan ng
Kasi sa Constitution.
Right.
Ngayon ang problema, wala tayong implementing law sa pag-amend ng Constitution. They tried it and the Supreme Court said it's not enough. But meron tayong provision sa pag-enact ng national law under initiative.
Okay. Congressman, what about you? If it doesn't make it in Congress, I mean, 2 pong hurdle yan, House of Representatives and the Senate. And when you look at the Senate right now, your bill, even in the House, talagang hindi ho masarap pakinggan para sa kanila yon dahil sabi mo nga 80% pa lang sa House political dynasties. Paano ka pa makakahanap ng suporta diyan?
Ang isang in-explore din po na pwedeng ruta, meron pong mga nag-file din ng petitions targeting particular political dynasties at ang kanilang ini-invoke po ay yung definition na meron na tayo na nasa isang batas din naman, which is the SK Reform Act. So ang parang alternative na approach ay gamitin na yung definition na yon at COMELEC na yung magpatupad habang wala pa yung isang particular na batas talaga for political dynasty.
But how is that if you use as a basis the SK? Pero hindi naman, ang questionin mo ay ang tumatakbo, hindi naman sa SK.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yung may iba pong mga lawyers naman, they would argue na yung definition ay pwede nang i-capture. Yun na yung maging basis ng COMELEC. Though of course, meron ding pros and cons yun, pero I think any attempt para maklip yung power ng dynasties ay pwedeng explore.
Gagawin na lang kahit na ano. Professor, what do you think of that? Pwede ho kaya yun?
It would be a stretch.
Yeah.
Yes. Kasi the fact na nasa ilalim siya ng SK law
Yeah.
suggests na limited yung application nun.
Parang they're grasping for any basis that can be used.
Yes. For example, yung kay Tulfo.
Exactly, I was going to say that.
Diba? And it was thrown out not because there was no law,
No.
pero nakalimutan daw i-attach yung copy ng COC.
Certificate of candidacy, yeah.
No. So, as you say, we're grasping. So baka if we did it right, baka magpatuloy yung kaso.
The justices with you in this petition before the Supreme Court, what were they telling you? Were they saying that this is going to be an uphill battle?
Oh, we all know that without them telling us. Because I teach it, diba? So, alam ko na yung mga kaso na will get in our way. But I am confident. I know na maraming ways around it.
But then again, I mean, you have to go back to what is stated in the law na bawal ang political dynasty. Ang sinabi naman ho talaga sa madaling usapan, bawal ang political dynasty, gumawa kayo ng batas. So ang sinabi ng Kongreso, hindi kami gagawa. Nakakalimutan po namin gumawa ng batas o hindi kami gagawa ng batas ngayon. Yun na naging problema eh.
Yeah.
So again, you think about other ways to be able to push the congressmen and the senators to to pass an enabling law to pass a law. Huwag na nga enabling Gumawa na lang ng batas gaya po nung ginagawa ninyo. What happens, you think, in the 20th Congress? I mean, what are your chances really right now for that bill you passed in the 19th Congress?
Well, tingin natin while gusto natin na bumoto talaga ng tama ang ating mga kababayan, tapos manalo yung mga hindi galing sa dynasties, pero given the current system, tingin natin by the 20th Congress, magdo-dominate pa rin ang political dynasties hanggat walang batas. Kaya sobrang kailangan na yun yung mga efforts kagaya ng mga petitions ng mga concerned groups, yung patuloy na pag-call ng ating mga kababayan na gawin ng Congress yung kanyang duty. Makakapag-exert talaga yun ng pressure din for the legislative branch para gawin na yung kanyang overdue task.
How do you feel when you've seen this evolved into more and more political dynasties from, let's say, the 17th to the 18th to the 19th Congress? Ano yung inyong nararamdaman?
Sa amin yung urgency. That is the reason why it's filed now is because it's really getting worse. Diba? Tama yung Senado mo next time. After the elections, it will even be a lot worse na. And kaya kahit na ang default is don't file this kind of a case kasi political question, separation of powers, we need that political pressure and yung institutional support from other branches of government to get something going.
I guess the question is, do you think the people are heeding that call of equal opportunity for public service for other candidates? Do you think gusto din po ng mga botante yun?
Yeah. Tingin ko po, siguro nakasanayan lang natin na yung mga affairs ng bayan natin, including politics, ay para siyang family affair. Pero I'd like to recall also yung isang survey din ng WR numero. Ang sabi naman doon, yung mga Pilipino nakikita nila na kapag galing sa dynasty, mas may chance talaga na maging corrupt kapag nasa gobyerno na. So, I remain hopeful na may ganong recognition din yung mga kababayan natin. And of course, we owe it to the youth din. No? Let's have more young and deserving people in public service kahit wala sila sa dynasty.
An appeal, Professor, to the voters. Hindi ko papa-appeal si Manuel. Kayo po, what is your appeal to the voters this coming midterm elections?
That we should be more discerning. No? Yung tanong mo kanina is, we keep voting for the same people. I think pag may batas, and we limit the dynasties, mag-open we have a realization na marami palang ibang possible options. So that's the reason why we want this kind of a law to be enacted.
And what would be the net effect of that? Sabihin po natin an anti-political dynasty bill is passed. Ano ho magiging epekto nun sa publiko, sa atin, sa development ng ating bansa?
Di na yung pumapasok yung equal opportunity. At saka hindi, fresh blood always, an opportunity to change things, to improve things. We tend to settle down kasanayan na.
What about you, Congressman? Last words on that. Sabihin po natin maipasa ito. How do you see the future of Congress?
Tingin natin na mas magiging vibrant pa yung mga talakayan sa ating legislature. Hindi na malilimit yung ating mga mambabatas na magsalita against corruption, against governance kasi hindi sila bound din ng halimbawa, they can say something dahil ma-hurt yung kanilang mga relatives in government. So, ibig sabihin talaga, step forward towards development kapag naban yung dynasties.
Thank you so much to Kabataan Party List Representative Raoul Manuel and of course, UP College of Law Professor Dante Gatmaytan. Thank you, gentlemen. And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.